If you went out to eat at a family event, would you be the jerk for refusing to pay, splitting the bill evenly? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for implementing a you cook, you clean rule and leaving her to clean up her dishes after she made pasta? My wife and I switch off cooking. Both of us cook twice a week, and the days neither of us cook, it's a leftover night or takeout. We used to have the person that didn't cook do the dishes after the meals. I clean as a cook, so when it's my night, there are very few dishes for her to clean up. When she cooks, I swear she uses almost every single dish or pot for her meals. It is a disaster in the kitchen and takes me a long time to clean the whole thing up. I have had conversations before about this and have asked her to clean as she goes to reduce the mess. She refuses and then claims that is just what happens because she likes to make elaborate meals. She does make more elaborate meals than me and spends a while in the kitchen. I prefer to make more simple meals like stir fry. I brought up last Thursday that I won't clean up after her cooking anymore. She left a huge mess and I was over it. That I'll clean up my dinners and she can clean up hers. On Saturday, my cooking night, I made beef tips over noodles and cleaned it all up. Sunday night was her cooking night and she made homemade pasta and red pepper sauce. We ate and she didn't clean up her mess, and later the night she asked me to clean it up. I told her no and reminded her what I told her and pointed out I cleaned my stuff up. This brings me to this morning. I didn't do the dishes, and when she woke up, there wasn't much room for her to make her coffee and breakfast. She's ticked I didn't clean it up. We got in a huge argument before I left for work. She thinks I'm a huge jerk, so I'm asking for an outside opinion. I don't think OP's the jerk here because I think what OP's doing or suggesting is a consistent thing. It's not like OP saying, oh, I'm just never going to do the dishes again. They're just doing it in a way that feels a bit more amicable to them. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm still working on it, but I have yet to master the clean as you go mindset. K Nico commented, not the jerk. It isn't that her meals are more elaborate, it's that she isn't cleaning anything as she goes, and so it all piles up. The division of labor isn't anywhere near even. If she doesn't want to clean as much, she can use less dishes or clean as she goes. She's picking what meals she wants to cook, so she's picking how much mess to make. OP responded saying, I agree, it would be fine if she just cleaned as she goes. I'm not asking her to make elaborate meals. That is all her, and I am so done having to clean it up. I had talked to her so many times about this issue. Literally, there is still flour and raw pasta bits on the counter and a pile of dishes. Even the blender is out. I am so over it. She was also fine not cleaning up my dinner on Saturday. I am so over it. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, want to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my friend I don't want to take the same flights as her for my honeymoon? I'm female 30, getting married very soon and planning to go to Barcelona for my honeymoon, which I'd thought I told my best friend, female 30. A few days ago, my friend told me that she's planning a trip to Barcelona the day after my wedding, which I was initially taken aback by since I thought she had planned this knowing that I was going. My friend has joked before about tagging along to my honeymoon, and I feel can be clingy at times, which has been noted and commented on by other friends. She made it clear that she didn't know about my plans, but that she will go ahead with her plans. I would prefer if this wasn't the case, but I can't stop her from going to a part of the world. From previous encounters, I anticipate that she will want to spend some time with us while we're there, and can foresee her feeling offended if we don't. I suggested to my friend that if we're all going at the same time, that my husband and I book different flights, and expressed that I would not feel comfortable being on the exact same flights. After our conversation, I get a phone call from my other friend asking me what I've done to make my best friend upset. She was upset by the comment that I made about feeling uncomfortable with taking the same flights, and can't understand what about that makes me uncomfortable. She says that I've made her feel as though she's done something wrong, hence why I'm avoiding being in the same airplane as her. This was really surprising to me, and now my best friend doesn't want to speak to me, and my second friend is seemingly on my best friend's side and says I should apologize. I feel so confused. I feel as though I am justified in wanting to take separate flights. I don't want to dismiss my friend's feelings, but I'm struggling to understand her reaction. I just feel like the chances of you both booking a vacation to this specific place at the same time, completely separate of each other, is such a low chance. I mean, you'd like to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I think through and through here, OP's friend is not being a very good friend at all, and very obviously trying to hijack OP's honeymoon. I don't think OP's the jerk at all. The Phil V commented, "She's manipulating you by weaponizing her emotions, and I would bet that she's done this for your entire relationship. What you said to her was entirely reasonable. It's your honeymoon. Of course you want some private time with your new spouse. It's not even about your friend, but she's making it all about her. Just remember that you can't control her responses to your boundaries, but you can control what happens when she crosses them, and how you interact with her while you set those boundaries. You're not the jerk for what you said, and you said that if you wind up in the same place, she will wind up attaching herself to you and your new spouse for at least a part of the trip based on past experience. This girl sounds, frankly, obsessed with you, and it's probably time to have a frank conversation with her about it. I can understand if you want to wait until after the wedding, but I would certainly rebook things. If not the flight, the entire trip, so that you can avoid her crashing your honeymoon. After that, I would consider cutting her off. This is majorly manipulative behavior on her part. I wouldn't want that crap in my life." Can You Hear Me Now commented, "This is the best answer here. You hit on multiple points." I would also like to add on to your response, she is not your best friend, OP. If she were your best friend, this would not be a problem. It sounds like she's obsessed with you and stalking you. As the Phil V pointed out, you're her best friend, or victim. Good luck, stay true to your boundaries. Unfortunately for you, this may be a deal breaker in your friendship, which may not be a bad thing in the long run. If she's doing this now at such a momentous point in your life, what happens for the next milestone? Say, kids. Will she cause drama around that as well? Will she be jealous of a baby? Our next story is, am I the jerk for shaming my sister for being pregnant and refusing to help her at all with any expenses? Am I the jerk? I, 24-year-old female, have a twin sister, Ashley, and we've always been close. She started dating this guy a year ago, Jared, 32-year-old male. I never really liked him, but my sister was head over heels in love with him and said she wanted to marry him. This summer, I was at the grocery store when a woman with 3 kids came up to me in the aisle and asked if I was Ashley. I said no and was about to say we're twins when she cut me off and said, "Yes, you are. You're dating my deadbeat baby daddy and want to stalk my pages, leaving hate messages saying he chose you over us and to move on. How heartless are you?" I was like, "What? I am not Ashley. I'm her twin sister Blair," and asked if she was talking about Jared. She said yes and showed me the screenshots of my sister DMing her saying Jared is now hers. He doesn't claim those kids, blah blah. I was very uncomfortable, but I knew in my gut he was a weirdo. I was so shocked my sister would date a deadbeat, and proudly, knowing how our father being a deadbeat sent us both to therapy, I just walked away. A few days later, I asked my sister and she denied it at first, then admitted it, saying she didn't tell me he has kids since I personally don't date men with kids, and she didn't want me to judge her. I told her I was judging the fact that he's a deadbeat, not a father. We argued about it a lot and I've looked at her differently since. Anyways, this week she invites me over and her and Jared tell me she's pregnant and are both so happy. I just sit there silently and keep eating. She asked why I was acting like a bench and why aren't I happy to be an aunt. And I said because of, and gestures towards Jared. He got mad and said, "What's your problem with me?" And I said, "Because you're a deadbeat." They both got quiet and he said, "That doesn't mean I'll be one for this kid." At that point I laughed and got up to leave. I'm in the hallway on the way to the elevator when my sister comes running behind me and keeps asking why I'm being so rude while she's sobbing. I told her that she should be ashamed to be pregnant by a guy that abandoned his other kids knowing that happened to us, and that she's disgusting and a loser and he's gonna leave her like he did his ex. She said I don't know the full story and she can't believe I would not be supportive in this time of her life, and the baby has half my DNA too. I felt bad and said I would try to be there for her, but she'll realize what a mistake she made, then I left. Now she's texting me saying she wants me to come back and apologize to Jared, and I refused. And she said that she doesn't want to speak to me if I don't apologize to them. Am I the jerk? I think on one hand there are some fair criticisms, but at the same time I feel like OP maybe went a little bit too far in what they said. I guess realistically what makes it not the jerk for me is that it does come from a very genuine place, something that they would even expect their sibling to be able to understand. That said, there's a really good question that's still lingering that Brainjacker commented and pointed out. Info. When did your sister ask you to help with her expenses? That's the question in your title, but there isn't anything about it in the post. OP responded saying, I try to keep it under 3,000 characters, but her and Jared live with 2 other roommates and she pays the bills since he has to pay child support. When she texted me to apologize, she asked me if I could help plan the gender reveal and baby shower with her and pay for half since it's my niece or nephew, and I said no, but I would attend. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my neighbor I cannot babysit her child? My neighbor keeps expecting me to take her kid off her hands at the most inconvenient times and at very short notice. She doesn't want to be a mom and is a bit of an older one who seems stuck with a 4-year-old she can't handle. The kid is spoilt and won't take no for an answer. She doesn't ask, she just sends him out of the house when she sees me outside and then leaves him with me. It's gotten so bad, they both walk through my door if they knock and I don't open it and if it's unlocked from the inside. I've had to tell her I don't like that and she'll still do it here and there to leave stuff on my kitchen counter. Last week, she feigned a migraine that turned into a concussion and called the ambulance. The medic said she was alright and didn't need to go to the hospital, but she insisted, then told me how I was to care for her child for the rest of the evening and get him ready in the morning to drop him to kindy, and walked out of the house, the child waiting. Yesterday I was 2 days out of an experience, to say the least, and she asked if I could feed the kid dinner because she just couldn't be bothered as I was heading out of the house, and I said no. She gave me a stern look and walked back inside, saying she's always there to help others, but others don't want to help her. Am I the jerk for refusing to take her kid off her as and when she pleases, or is it me that must be understanding here? OP's obviously not the jerk here. I would say they're almost the jerk for allowing it to happen. The next time they try to drop the kid off and just walk away, you shout back, if you leave, I am calling child support or the non-emergency line. Change your locks, start locking your door regularly. I mean, enforce that you're not the 24/7 babysitter service. Sushi Guac DNA commented, not the jerk. This woman is taking advantage of you, and the more you let her, the more she'll do it. You wouldn't be a jerk for occasionally agreeing to help if you want to, but honestly, I predict that will end poorly. This woman obviously has no respect for boundaries. Given that she drops and runs, you may need to warn her that next time you will call 911 and report an abandoned child. Seriously, what she's doing is not okay. OP responded saying, initially I felt bad for her because I could see she can't handle him. He throws, kicks, and breaks things when mad and yells at the top of his voice, and God help anyone if they ignore him while he cries or has a giggle. She'll also expect my boyfriend to do random things around the house when he doesn't live there. Once, she asked if he could help her start a chainsaw. He started it and it ended up with her telling him what to chainsaw and him doing it. I don't let him do nothing on the property anymore and she keeps insisting, when he's around. The last time I just point blank said no, he's not our handyman, but if you want to pay him for his service, he'll be happy to do it. I feel stuck because I'm a nice person, not a stupid person, and I feel she thinks I'm the latter. This next story is, am I the jerk for calling therapy a waste of time and saying we should stop going because it's not going to help us? Me, 16-year-old female, my twin brother, 16-year-old male, my mom and my mom's husband are in family therapy together. The therapist isn't bad. I talked to her alone twice before we did sessions with all of us in one room, but the reason we're in therapy and the way my mom especially is behaving, I just know it's a waste of time. My mom and her husband want me and my brother to change our last name to her husband's name and her name now. They're also hoping we'll let him adopt us. But the core focus is our name. They asked us 3 years ago when they first got married and they tried to use guilt and bribery to make it happen. Guilt was mom saying we weren't really happy for her and if we were, we would accept having the same family name and let her move on from dad after being his widow for 7 years. Bribery was that her husband would pay for college, weddings, and a down payment on a house when we're 25, on top of getting a new car each instead of old cars. Now, the focus is on the fact that my mom and him have a kid together and mom is pregnant again. She said we should want the same name as our half-sibling, and we should want to be more easily identified as a family, and we should want to confuse our younger siblings way less. This has been the thing they focused on in therapy, and they refuse to answer questions the therapist asks them. They talk over her. My brother and I were asked to leave the room 7 times in 2.5 months of appointments because the therapist needed to speak to the adults alone. The second last time we went, she started saying therapy with her should end because they won't listen to her and do not want her to lead the sessions. But my mom and her husband were quick to backtrack and apologize, but they brought the same stuff up last time. And last time is when I said therapy is a waste of time and we should stop going because it's not going to help us. I told the therapist I will not change my mind. I do not want to change my name. I do not want the family name. I do not consider my mom's husband my father or even an important person in my life. I said I think my mom has changed a lot since we got married and I don't feel like she's as good of a mom as she used to be. I said I will never accept having another man's name and that he's no different than any other random dude off the street. I said having younger half-siblings changes nothing for me because we will never have the same dad, and we will always be a part of different families. I told them I would not work on making that a goal or try to compromise. So no adding his name to mine, etc. And I said the adults won't stop repeating themselves and talking over her, therapist, so I'm tired of us all wasting our time. My mom was so mad at me after therapy because her husband looked offended that I'd said all of that about him, but she was also mad that I thought I could end therapy when I'm just a kid. Am I the jerk? It's sad that out of all of the people in a family group therapy session, the 16-year-old is the one that has the most sense, the most emotional maturity, the most rational thinking. OP's not the jerk, but I think it's just pretty clear they're going to almost never give it up. I just hope that it ultimately doesn't ruin the relationship you have with your mom. I mean, OP's already saying they seem like a completely different person. Comfortable C2454 commented, "Not the jerk. I hope your mom hears what you're saying, but it doesn't sound like it. I'm sorry, OP. Your mom and stepdad are acting like the Kool-Aid and wanting you and your twin to drink deeply and just be willing to go with the flow. Does your brother feel the same as you?" They quote, "My mom was so mad at me after therapy because her husband looked offended that I'd said all that about him, but she was also mad that I thought I could end therapy when I'm just a kid." They write, "A kid that is making more sense than the adults in the conversation." OP responded saying, "My brother feels the same as me. He would be way more aggressive about it, so he lets me do the talking sometimes or he might go too far. But he is not open to compromise or working on building up a relationship that would make him willing to change his last name. He also doesn't see our mom's husband as any kind of parent or family figure." Our next story is, am I the jerk for acting upset in front of my family because my dad got me a $460 bottle of cologne for my birthday? I'm halfway through my first semester of college and I'm struggling a lot financially. I have a very old cheap laptop that's dying on me and little money for the stuff I need. Yesterday was my birthday and I met with my family to celebrate at my parents' house. My dad gave me a bottle of cologne and kept saying that he'd paid a lot for it and encouraged me to look it up. Sure enough, it's $460 per bottle. Don't get me wrong, I am grateful to get anything at all, especially since he paid a lot of money, but I couldn't help but imagine how many other gifts at that price would actually really help me out. I've never even expressed interest in cologne. My family noticed I was annoyed by it and I did start talking about other stuff I might need. My mom called me ungrateful and is now mad at me. I feel like maybe some people could make some kind of argument that OP maybe could have spoken up a little bit about what they need, but I mean, it is their parents. They should have like a good sense that OP is probably struggling a little bit in college, right? They're on that ramen diet. I don't think OP's the jerk, but I also don't think it's fair to necessarily lash out at your parents or hold a grudge against them for an extended period of time. I mean, at the end of the day, they did try to get something nice for OP. I mean, OP probably could try to communicate in the future. It probably could have been spent a little bit more usefully for OP, but I feel like that conversation is gonna be awkward. Spiraling Swordfish commented, "Unless he threw a fit and or said something genuinely hurtful, not the jerk. I'm guessing your dad was gifted this somehow and is re-gifting it to you? Is it possible your parents are struggling a bit for money too? In any case, he should know, if he doesn't, that this was not a thoughtful way to be kind to you on your birthday. You would not be the jerk at all if you sold the cologne and put the proceeds towards things you actually need. Our next story is, am I the jerk for favoring my nephews over my girlfriend's sisters who live with us? I, 31-year-old male, inherited my parents' house and became the guardian of my two nephews, 16-year-old male and 12-year-old male, about 7 years ago. Before he died, my dad was in the middle of renovating the basement for each nephew to have a large bedroom with their own bathroom. To honor my dad, I finished the renovation, and each of my nephews have their own room and bathroom with the specs my dad had made. He was an architect. About this time, I graduated from law school. I was having a tough time finding a job, so I decided to start my own firm. It has worked out very well for me financially, so I get to spoil my nephews a fair bit, but they're good kids, respectful, courteous, and great students. 3 years ago, I met a woman. Her family is a train wreck. She has no relationship with extended family because they were involved in this extremely conservative religious church/cult. Her parents escaped but are not equipped at parenting. They had 5 daughters, my girlfriend, 26-year-old female, and her sisters, 16, 14, 10, and 8. My girlfriend and I talked about moving in together and did so 2 years ago. A little over a year ago, she approached me about moving in her sisters. Her parents are still the legal parents of the sisters, but they cannot hold down jobs, etc. My nephews and I discussed about the sisters moving in. They agreed, but only if they get their rooms and bathrooms. I said, absolutely, and told my girlfriend. This meant the 4 sisters would share 2 small bedrooms and a small bathroom. The living arrangement has been rough. The girls are on top of each other and constantly bickering. My girlfriend has asked if we could have the 2 of her sisters share one of the basement bathrooms. I said no. My girlfriend makes less than 1/10 of what I do. My girlfriend and I split groceries and utilities, but I pay for all the other shared expenses. Other than paying for standard living expenses, I don't pay for many things for the girls. My perspective is that is for their parents and or my girlfriend to do. I do buy things for my nephews like concert tickets, video game systems, movie tickets, etc. This came to a head recently because my oldest nephew and girlfriend's oldest sister have birthdays only about a month apart. For girlfriend's sister's 16th birthday, I bought her some makeup and a nice purse. It was about $100 total. My nephew wanted to take his girlfriend to a Taylor Swift concert. I got him 2 concert tickets to go in about a month. I also bought him a car. My girlfriend's sister felt some type of way. She's a Swiftie and hates my nephew's girlfriend. They go to the same school. After his birthday, my girlfriend called me a jerk. She said she was tired of me favoring my nephews and it needs to change. I told her that my nephews are my responsibility, her sisters are not. I bought her sister a nice gift, but I'm not going to treat them like my nephews. Friend group is divided, so trying to get perspective here, am I the jerk? I mean, I guess my question would be, what exactly is she expecting OP to do in regards to treating their sisters? I mean, do they expect OP to be buying the sisters video game systems and Taylor Swift concert tickets and new cars on top of graciously even allowing them to live in that place to begin with? Cami Sang commented, "This one is tough because they're kids, but not the jerk. Your girlfriend has literally forced you to provide shelter for her sisters, but you never agree to be financially responsible for them. Unfortunately, it creates an unbalanced living situation, but it's probably a lot better than if the girls stayed with their parents. OP, you're together with someone who has a lot of burdens. She didn't have these kids, but she does feel responsible to help them. She's also clearly using you to help her help them. However, I just don't see how you can have a romantic relationship with her and there not be a lot of issues, given that she's supporting them and you're supporting your nephews all under one roof. I get it, you were already living with your nephews and just wanted to live with your girlfriend. However, this is her reality. Personally, I think it's a lot for you to house her plus 4 minor females. I don't think you can be as hands-off as you'd like. I think you either have to accept her and her 4 sisters fully, which I do agree is grossly unfair, or you should end this. Anything else is going to be drama." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to pay double my own meal bill at a family event? We had a family meal out for my Nan's birthday yesterday. Family included Nan Family A, 2 parents with 3 adult children, ages 18, 23, and 25. Family B, 2 parents with disabled adult son. Adult C. Family D, 2 parents with 2 school-aged children. Me, 30-year-old female. This was arranged by my Family A, 25-year-old female cousin, with meals pre-ordered from a fixed-price menu. I chose a 2-course meal plus soft drink. Everybody else, minus young children, had a 3-course meal, 2 alcoholic drinks, and a hot drink each. For the sake of maths, I've removed the service charge and tips from the bill. The bill arrived and I expected to pay for my meal and drink plus around £2 towards Nan's meal. Each of us contributed, so Nan ate for free. My meal was £18.95 plus £2.50 drink. So I was expecting a bill around £25. The 3-course meal everybody else had was £22.95, and each person spent a similar figure on alcoholic and hot drinks, plus their own contribution to Nan's meal. My adult 18 to 25 cousins and families A and B would be paid for by their parents. My Family A, female 25 cousins said each adult owed £50, including division of school-age children's meals amongst everybody. I checked my sums again. My bill was definitely £25, but nobody mentioned that I'd consumed half of what everybody else had because they either wanted a cheaper bill or wanted to go home. So I reminded my cousin of my smaller meal and lack of alcoholic and hot drinks. I left the room for 5 minutes and chaos ensued. Everybody was shouting at everybody, and my Family D brother-in-law started yelling at me, whilst my Family A aunt shouted at him, "She's not my granddaughter, so why do I have to pay for her?" People then glared at me or avoided my eyes, and Family B aunt said, "You, why can't you just muck in like everybody else?" And when I said I can't afford to pay double what my actual bill was, she said, "Then why didn't you say that at the start? What do we do? Not invite you to future events?" My Family A, 23-year-old male cousin paid the bill and later messaged each person with what they owed him. For reference, we have never split bills down the middle. With different individual family sizes involved, including children with an age range of 20 years, it's not been fair to do so. So historically, bills have been paid with each family paying their own way. Now, with the aforementioned children now being adults, this rule is shifted a couple of times to splitting a bill equally amongst all the adults, with no thought towards anyone, usually me, who consumed less food and no alcohol. I challenged this once before, and my Family A aunt announced she, me, is paying £10 for jacket potato and Coke, and everybody else is paying £35 for a 2-course meal and 2 G&Ts, making everybody roll their eyes at me for being difficult or different or a tight butt, etc. Am I the jerk for asking to pay for only what I've consumed at this family event, plus my contribution for Nan's meal? Everybody's giving OP such a hard time, but it wasn't even formally discussed at the start of the meal. As much as they want to whine and complain and say, well, why didn't you bring it up at the start of the meal? Well, like OP clarified, it's not like there's an established precedent or everybody agreed on anything to start with. Don Williams 77 commented, "Not the jerk. I don't understand. Why isn't everyone paying his or her own meal? I'm not from and not in the US, and in the country where I live, it would be totally disgusting to demand that someone who has individually $25 to pay should pay $50. It might be a cultural thing, but here, this wouldn't be a point of discussion at all." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.